What if Ahsoka became Darth Vader? In Revenge of the Sith, we witness Anakin's tragic fall to the dark side where he becomes Darth Vader. What followed was 20 years of Sith dominance of the galaxy before Anakin redeemed himself and overthrew the Emperor. But what if this wasn't the case? And what if Palpatine's plans changed and he decided that he wanted Ahsoka to be his apprentice and become Darth Vader? How would that change the Star Wars timeline we all know and love today? Let's start today's story on Coruscant during the end of the Clone Wars. Ahsoka Tano has just had her name cleared for the bombing of the Jedi Temple. It turns out that it was in fact Barriss Offee that bombed the temple. Ahsoka was always close to her and couldn't believe it, but more than that, she was upset that Barriss would frame one of her best friends. It was clear that Ahsoka needed some time for herself to figure out who she was without the Jedi. If they couldn't trust her, then who could? Could she even trust herself? When the council apologizes and offers her place back in the temple, she reluctantly declines and officially leaves the Jedi Order. While Anakin tried to stop her, it was no use. Her time as a Jedi was over, and she would always have fond memories of this place. And so, Ahsoka Tano is now no longer a Jedi. Meanwhile, Palpatine is very pleased about this. He has spent the better half of a decade trying to manipulate Anakin. His apprentice leaving the Jedi Order would only have positive things for Palpatine's ultimate goal. However, after Palpatine had several conversations with Anakin about Ahsoka, he realized that Anakin was sad that she left, but contempt that he believed it was the right decision for her. It wasn't having the full negative impacts that the Sith Lord had first envisioned it would. Because of this, Palpatine decided to take Ahsoka's demise one step further. He calls his Sith apprentice Dooku. The Count was currently on Serena when he received the call. Sidious informs his apprentice that Ahsoka Tano must die. If Skywalker is to join them, his apprentice can no longer live. Dooku questioned if that was truly necessary. He had fought her on several occasions and actually admired her passion for the Jedi. Killing her would be a futile loss. But Sidious's orders were clear. Kill the girl so Anakin Skywalker can become a Sith. Dooku nodded as he bowed, and he hung up the phone, setting course for Coruscant. After Ahsoka left the Order, she spent the following weeks on the lower levels of Coruscant, working a normal job as a mechanic. Palpatine had spies keep a close eye on her, and reported all the sightings to Dooku. Dooku landed his shuttle on level 1312, where he located Ahsoka. He approached her cautiously, calling her by name as she spun around in shock. Ahsoka had taken a new name since she left the Order, and so wasn't expecting anyone to recognize her. But when she turned and saw it was Dooku, she was mixed with a sense of confusion and fear. Dooku asked what has become of her. She used to be a proud and strong Jedi Knight, and now she is living in the dumps of Coruscant. But Ahsoka didn't stoop to his level, and instead, she started running away. This was the last thing that Dooku thought would happen, but he followed her swiftly. Ahsoka knew the streets of 1312 and used all of the shortcuts she could until she finally made it back to her home. Dooku was still confused as to why she was running, but his confusion was stopped when he realized she was getting a weapon. The second that Ahsoka ran into her small home, she used the Force to call on a lightsaber that she found in the first week following her departure from the Order. Dooku smiled. Now it was a fair fight. The Sith Lord ignited his own saber as the two attacked. They swung with everything they had, as red met blue on the lower levels of Coruscant. Dooku was impressed with Ahsoka's skills, and in between strikes he complimented her style. But what Dooku hadn't expected was her knowledge of the terrain around her. She jumped, dodged, and leaped off all the walls to find different angles to attack him from. Before long, he realized that he was losing. In a final effort, he tried to use Force Lightning, but this would only prove to be his downfall. As he shot the lightning at Ahsoka, she jumped out of the way and the lightning hit the wall, causing the ceiling to collapse. And when that happened, Dooku used the Force to hold the roof up so it didn't crush him. But in doing so, he was left open to Ahsoka, who struck him through the chest and killed him. Ahsoka had survived. This completely changes the course of the timeline. What followed was a small crisis for Palpatine. Hours later, when Dooku's body was discovered, he realized that Ahsoka must have killed him. He was filled with both anger and disappointment. How could the great Count Dooku fall to a 17-year-old? But that made him think. Maybe she was far more powerful than he had given her credit for. I mean, she was Anakin Skywalker's apprentice, and had been fighting in wars since she was 14. That has to mean something. She was very respected by her peers. Perhaps Ahsoka was actually just as powerful. As Palpatine pondered what to do next, he knew he needed a new apprentice to continue his work. That person could be Ahsoka. As Darth Sidious, he contacts Ahsoka and says he wants to talk. He wants to discuss ending the war. He lures her to an old abandoned industrial facility on the outskirts of Coruscant, and when she arrives, she is ambushed from all sides until knocked unconscious by Palpatine himself. He places her in an old Sith chamber that means she can't escape. It was designed during the days of the Old Republic and used to turn Jedi into Sith Lords. Over the following weeks, Ahsoka's mind is tormented beyond repair. Her worst nightmares are amplified and even altered slightly by Palpatine. This included her betrayal by the Jedi Council, abandonment by Anakin, even faces of clone troopers like Rex and Jesse. In her mind now, they betrayed her and left her for dead. Her hate grew so large it was almost impossible to control. As she resists and tries to fight back, Palpatine unleashes Force lightning directly into her, not to kill her but to break her down. He tells her that by only embracing her rage can she survive the pain, and in a funny way, that's true. If she gives herself over to the dark side, she will survive, but if she fights and remains in the light, then she will die. Before long, Ahsoka Tano is completely broken down and rebuilt. To test his new pet, Palpatine brings her to the far corners of the galaxy on Raxus, where he places her in a gladiator-like ring with 3 Jedi. As they all attack as one, Ahsoka force chokes one of them before igniting her own saber and fighting with everything she has. The Jedi didn't last more than 30 seconds before she was finished with them. Palpatine was amazed. Dooku never had this level of hate, and Maul was not this gifted despite his ferociousness. Sidious knew that he had found himself an extremely powerful apprentice. Palpatine praises her power, telling her she's finally broken free of the Jedi's chains. He calls her Darth Vader, and Ahsoka is officially the second Sith in command. With Dooku gone, Ahsoka begins commanding the Separatist fleets and droid armies. Hey guys, make sure to check out our saber shop Fantasy Sabers for the best NeoPixel sabers on the market. We have a bunch of perfect replicas and other insane Padawan sabers for sale. Check them out on our website, first link in the description below, and grab your own one today. The Clone Wars were coming to a close, and when Ahsoka first launched into battle, it felt like the Separatists had gained a second wind. Under her lead, the Separatists took Ryloth in a major battle, which allowed the Separatists to continue their trade routes in the Outer Rim and set up blockades on other major planets. Ahsoka was ruthless on the battlefield. She killed without a second thought. It didn't matter who it was, Jedi, clone, even civilian. If they were in her way, they would be finished. It wasn't long before word that Ahsoka Tano had turned to the dark side and become a Sith Lord known as Darth Vader spread into Coruscant and into the Senate and Jedi. Just like Maul did when he joined the Clone Wars, there were holo recordings of Ahsoka in battle showing a level of hate that couldn't be ignored. This absolutely destroyed Anakin. In his mind, it was his fault. He had let his apprentice down, and it was because of him all these people were dying. There was certainly a shift in Anakin, and everyone could see it. He was slipping and falling. It wasn't uncommon for Jedi Padawans to die or to fall to the dark side, and when that happens, the expectation is that the Jedi Master didn't have an attachment to their student, so they should be able to move on quickly. But Anakin wasn't like that. He loved and cared for Ahsoka like she was a sister. He couldn't just forget her. At a Jedi Council meeting, Anakin begs the Council to let him go after her and bring her back, insisting that she can still be saved. Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and other masters completely dismissed the idea, saying it's foolish. She made her choice and caused the deaths of thousands. She's too dangerous and too far gone to risk saving. This caused Anakin to go into a fit of rage. He stormed out of the office and called Captain Rex, saying it's time they saved their old friend. Of course, Rex was completely on board, and they both went rogue. They took a small Jedi starfighter that could only seat 2 pilots. She wasn't hard to locate. Ahsoka was currently fighting on Cato Nemoidia against the Republic. Anakin and Rex wanted to be sneaky. They didn't want anyone to know they were there. They lure her away from the center of the conflict until she arrives at a small altar in the main town, where they approach her. Anakin calls out to her, calling her Snips. When she first saw him, rage and anger fled in her. In Ahsoka's mind, Anakin was the reason for her pain and suffering. That's what the Sith Chamber and Palpatine had convinced her. Her sabers were immediately ignited, but Anakin tried to calm her, saying they just wanted to talk. Anakin asked how she could turn evil, pleading with her to remember her life before becoming a Sith. They helped people. They saved people from the very enemy she has become. But Ahsoka coldly rejects, declaring the Jedi betrayed her and the Republic is beyond saving. She gives them one chance to leave before it's too late. When Anakin refuses to go, the encounter erupts into a deadly duel. Both her sabers are now ignited and she swings at Anakin with everything she has. Rex tries to keep his distance by using his jetpack and shooting her with 2 single blasters. But this only enraged the dark side Ahsoka, who used the Force to choke Rex in the air before throwing one of her 2 sabers into his chest and killing him. Anakin screamed in defiance. His apprentice just killed Rex. What is going on? He thought to himself. Anakin then presses harder than he ever has, fighting with immense strength, and he eventually overpowers her. But Anakin hesitates, holding back because he cannot bring himself to kill her. This hesitation gives Ahsoka the opening to turn the tide of the fight. Anakin is eventually beaten down, wounded, and forced to retreat to Coruscant, escaping with his life, but crushed by the truth that Rex is dead and Ahsoka is lost to him forever. Palpatine is extremely pleased with his apprentice's work. She has proved most useful. He moves to the next stage of his plan. Instead of him going to Mandalore himself and killing his old Zabrak apprentice, he gets his apprentice too. Ahsoka takes the Separatist forces and invades Mandalore. She duels Maul and Savage Opress, killing them both in battle and taking full control over the planet. Ahsoka becomes the ruler of Mandalore. This is broadcast everywhere, and instead of liberating it like in canon, she has now conquered it, crushing Maul's remnants and seizing the throne for the Separatists. This causes chaos across the galaxy. In the Senate, Palpatine uses Ahsoka's occupation as a political weapon, claiming that the Jedi let one of their own take over a major war. This almost forces the Council to take action. It looked extremely bad for them. Their ex-pupil was completely changing the course of the war. The Council debates whether to strike Mandalore, and Anakin pushes hard to lead the mission himself, desperate for closure and revenge after Rex's death. But once again, the Council refuses, fearing he's too emotionally compromised. Instead, Windu and Obi-Wan are elected to go to Mandalore. They prepare their forces and leave immediately. Anakin was not in a good place at this point. It was almost like everything was turning against him. He needed a win. But unfortunately, that was the last thing he would get. That night, Anakin begins having nightmares, premonitions in the Force that drive him crazy. As he rests, he sees Yoda killing Padme brutally after the Jedi betray the Republic. Ahsoka tries to stop it, but she fails. Anakin woke up panting. He couldn't believe what he had just seen. The last time Anakin had a vision like this was his mother, and she died. He wouldn't let that happen again. The following day, Anakin goes to Palpatine's office. He tells him about the vision he had, and how he doesn't know what to do. Palpatine continues his manipulation of the boy, and says that he has been fearing the Jedi are going down the wrong path. Their desire for victory has driven them to become soldiers. They are no longer peacekeepers, but they like to see war. It makes them feel powerful. Anakin couldn't help but agree. He believed if they just let him go to Mandalore and take on Ahsoka, then the war would be over. But clearly they rejected his request so that the war could continue. Palpatine only encouraged this thought of belief. Rage and anger swelled within the Chosen One. He was lost, and now he thought he was going to lose Padme to the Jedi as well. If Padme is gone and Ahsoka has turned to the dark side, he would have nothing left. It was at this moment that Palpatine knew it was time to reveal everything. The Chancellor says that he is Darth Sidious, Lord of the Sith, and only if Anakin joins him will they have the power to destroy the Jedi and save Padme. In Revenge of the Sith, Anakin leaves the office and goes straight to Mace Windu, but in this alternate story, that is not the case. Anakin joins the dark side then and there, becoming Darth Skywalker. At this moment, Palpatine's comlink rings as Mas Amedda informs him that the attack on Mandalore has failed, confirming that Mace Windu and Obi-Wan Kenobi are dead. Anakin felt his heart drop hearing Obi-Wan's death, but this only confirmed his decision. He needed to turn to the dark side if he was to keep anyone that he loved. Palpatine goes to the Senate where he announces the Jedi's failure on Mandalore. Support for the Jedi was at an all-time low, and the boos could be heard for miles. Nobody believed in the Jedi's ability to protect the Republic anymore. It was at this moment that Chancellor Palpatine declared that the Jedi are not fit to protect the Republic, and he announced that the Republic is over and that the Galactic Empire will rise. This changed the galaxy forever. Everything went into mayhem as the Senate applauds him. Over at the Jedi Temple, the remaining Jedi in the Council chambers watch in horror. They don't understand. The Republic was meant to stand behind them after everything they have sacrificed to protect them, but they just turned their back on the Order. Yoda and the others knew that Palpatine was behind this. It was clear to them that he must be working with the Sith in some regard. He is clearly a puppet of the dark side. This causes Yoda, Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, Agen Kola and Saesee Tiin to march into the Chancellor's office, declaring Palpatine guilty of treason and demanding his arrest. However, to their shock, Anakin was already there and standing at Palpatine's side. The Sith Lord only laughed and cackled as the council approached. He knew they were no match for him and Lord Skywalker. Both of them ignite their lightsabers and leap forward. A ferocious duel erupts in the Chancellor's office. Palpatine unleashes torrents of Force lightning as Anakin strikes multiple council members with unmatched fury. The Jedi Masters fought desperately to bring them down, but it was no use. One by one, the Jedi fell. Saesee Tiin and Agen Kola are cut down swiftly. Kit Fisto holds his own but is blasted back by Palpatine's power, and Plo Koon is slain in a vicious exchange with Anakin. Yoda duels both Palpatine and Anakin at once, and for a while, it seemed like he had a chance. But the combined might of the Sith Lord and the fallen Chosen One overwhelms him. Yoda is struck down, leaving no one strong enough to oppose them. Ahsoka arrives on Coruscant from Mandalore. Together, Palpatine, Anakin, and Ahsoka march into the Jedi Temple as the Chancellor executes Order 66, causing thousands of clones to kill every single Jedi in the galaxy. This was the night of the Fallen. The Jedi stood absolutely zero chance against the thousands of clones and the Sith Lords, breaking the rule of two for the first time in a millennia. What made it worse was that the Senate and citizens of the Republic supported this annihilation, believing the Jedi were a lost cause. They cut down every Jedi inside, from Masters to Padawans, everyone. After the Purge, Palpatine proclaims the Jedi destroyed and the Sith triumphant, believing himself Emperor for the rest of time. However, later that night, the three of them celebrate their victory by having a drink in Palpatine's office. This was Palpatine's lifelong dream, to see the Jedi destroyed and himself on the throne. He couldn't be happier. In a moment of lapse, he drank and drank and drank until he couldn't feel himself anymore. Anakin and Ahsoka carefully ensured that Palpatine kept on drinking, whilst they only pretended to. In a matter of hours, Palpatine was stone cold drunk, and this was when Anakin and Ahsoka struck. They ignite their lightsabers and turn on him. They use the same trick that Palpatine had used on his master, Darth Plagueis, all those years ago. A final battle erupts in the ruins of the Chancellor's office. Palpatine squirms to try and defend himself. There was no aggression, just pure fear and realization that he was about to die. Anakin and Ahsoka fight as one, overwhelming Palpatine and killing him very quickly. They step over his body as they look at each other. It was done. Darth Skywalker and Darth Vader would now rule as Emperor and Empress until the end of time. If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch What If Anakin Told Ahsoka About Darth Plagueis and What If Ahsoka Stayed in the Jedi Order. Please check out Fantasy Sabers if you're looking for an affordable saber to add to your collection. We offer RGB, Xenopixel or Profi in various sizes and designs. Also check out our membership program to be able to watch our videos early. Thanks for watching and may the Force be with you.